My earliest memories of John Prine were when his first album came out. And I had no idea who he was. And I was a young teenager. I had a radio show at this college radio station in Due West, South Carolina, at Erskine College, WARP. And there was a copy of the album. I'd get seconds a lot, and they had two of them. And I thought, this guy must be pretty good. I mean, Chris Christopherson wrote this quote about him, and that was one of those albums I just played over and over and over. So that was my first exposure to him. And then I guess I didn't meet him, though, till years later in Nashville. And I started seeing him around town, and then we would do festivals, be on the same festival and things like that. And he was such a great guy. I really liked to make him laugh. And I would, any chance I would be around him. I just, one time at this festival in Live Oak, Florida, they had these trailers there as dressing rooms. And it was, I think it was Del McCurry's trailer, but he was in there visiting, and so I knew he was in there. So I knocked on the door and said hi, and then I said, mind if I use the bathroom for a minute? And this was the day after the Peabody Company, whatever the full title is, filed for bankruptcy. And so I went to the bathroom, and then about 90 seconds later, I came out with my pants down around my ankles, with my underwear on, because Dell's wife was in the room. And I had my phone, and I said, "What do you mean you didn't sell the Peabody stock yesterday?" and at first, Dell's wife they kind of paused for a second and then laughed, but he was a great guy. I wish that there's people like John and Earl Scruggs and Cowboy Jack and people like that I was in such awe of, that I was too intimidated to just hang out with them. But I wished I had, because they were all just very warm people, but I guess it's this thing when you are next to this greatness that you just are kind of fanboying or awestruck, I remember seeing him and Fiona and the boys at an Italian restaurant over in Green Hills. I think I was getting something to go, and they were sitting there, and I walked over and I said, "How is everything okay? Anybody need any fresh ground pepper or Parmesan cheese?" And then there was a thing I used to host, this Songwriters in the Round. They had this thing called the Nashville Screenwriters Conference, and they'd get great artists to come in there and be on these in the rounds. And one year John was on there, and but I had throat surgery. I couldn't talk for like 3 months to rest, while it healed up. And so I went and I asked Gary Haber, the late Gary Haber, to read something that I was saying. So Gary was reading this thing of, "Hi, everybody, I can't talk right now." So while he was reading it, I was mouthing the words, and John got a kick out of that. And, but man, what a writer. He's one of those writers, when you hear him too, you feel like, this happens with me with several people that are just so great, you almost feel, or you do, I feel for a little while like, I can't ever get anywhere near close to something that's so great. And I guess as a writer, you eventually, when you get over that feeling of being dwarfed by somebody's greatness, then you kind of calm down a little bit, or your mind settles down a little bit, and then you just start being yourself, because that is, and I think that's, as you are growing up, and I'm a late bloomer, is that you still, when you hear greatness, you feel like you've got to then be that person. You know what I mean? But we can't. It's just impossible. You do hear that, and especially in popular music, or you hear other folks, and I definitely have this in my voice, that you have influences, so you tend to sing like them, or write like them, or play like them. But I think this is all a process of finding out who you are. And I'm still going through that process after all of these years of really seeing who I am. Because I kind of know, but I think I'm still figuring it out. And I think sometimes too, you circle back around to that place from years ago for a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like you come back around with some thought or style or something. It's like, well, this is part of me, the whole creating thing is kind of a tricky challenge to find something worthy, valid, worthwhile, something that catches people's attention, moves them, sticks in their mind. And it's hard to, I'm not sure if you can really consciously, it just kind of has to happen, and you have to challenge yourself to be like, okay, is this good enough? Can this be better? As making records, sometimes it's like, whew, okay, I've got these 10 songs, 12 songs, whatever, thank goodness. But then it's like, well, wait a minute though, are they good enough to put out? And we have to go back in and really be honest with ourselves about it. And if it's not ready, hold it up for a while. There's no rush,
Well, if I can bring this back to John, we talked a little bit ago about that last record that he made. It had to be difficult for John, thinking about making a record later in his life, realizing the body of work that he'd created, and wanting to live up to his legacy.
Probably, and luckily for us, he was such a master that, it seemed so easy, and what a creative man he was. And it did seem easy. I know that, and when you write songs, sometimes it isn't. I'm sure he probably had his struggles too, but he was just such a wide open, joyful guy too. He surely had an idea about how great he was, but it was in he wasn't cocky or anything, at all. He seemed to savor life.